welcome to the West Burlington City Council for October 7th. Call this meeting to order. Could I have roll call?
Christie?
Here.
Crowner?
Here.
Heitmeyer?
Here.
Lees?
Here.
Waterman?
Here.
Need a motion to perfect and approve the agenda.
So move. Support.
Motion with support. Roll call.
Crowner?
Aye.
Heitmeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Waterman?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye. All right, motion approved. Next, we have the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve, or if there's anything you wish to chit-chat about.
So moved. Motion to approve.
Support. Motion with support. The consent agenda includes the regular city council meeting minutes from September 16th, approved training for finance officer Sattler and Moore of the Municipal Finance Officers Association Fall Conference, approved training for Officer Schluter at the CTK Group Interview and Interrogation Course, approved renewal of the Duo two-factor authentication service, approved payment to Titan Machinery, approved payment to Municipal Supply, payment to G&B Construction, payment to Francis Services, payment to Skelly Tree Service, payment to Lynch Dallas, payment to Mershman Fertilizer, we're getting ready for the snow, and claims in the amount of $173,677.71. There's no questions, going to have a roll call?
I just had a quick comment. It seemed like there was some things on this claim list this time that maybe were more luxury items, maybe weren't necessary, and so I wondered if we still had the direction of we're still kind of buying things that have to be bought today, or if that's changed, Dan, from your level.
No, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but.
Well, I think the trailer stood out to me, not saying that we shouldn't have a trailer, but it just seemed like that was probably something that didn't need to be bought today. And so I wondered if that direction had changed.
Well, we'll just lose that opportunity to buy that trailer if we don't get it bought. Well, I don't care. We'll use it. We're using it now. But he was just asking if we were still interested, and I said, yeah, we are. So I put it on to see if that was, go through. So it's totally up to you what you do. I don't care. But if it's not available, then when we do go to look for a new one, you'll have to probably pay full price for a new one. So.
Yeah. And there's a reason I didn't motion to try to pull that off right away, and it's not because I'm against it. I was more wanted to know the process of where we're at today in the direction, because I don't want to continue to nickel and dime that claims list and see that continue to rise of items that are not necessary today, because I thought that was our current direction. So I didn't pull that off for a reason. I'm not against it, but I just want to know where we're at.
Yeah, we're still in that mode, and typically even before any of this, we're always been pretty conservative with spending, and our department heads are really good about that. And typically over the 15 years or so I've been here, there hasn't been anybody that's been very extravagant, and then most things are pretty necessary that they decide to spend money on. So.
Okay, well, that would be my note. Just if that's the direction we're under, let's try to keep with it.
Do we know where that, do you have I know in the past, Leslie, you always ask for what line item we're taking that money out of.
That was minor equipment.
Okay.
I had miscellaneous, like $2,000 miscellaneous, because you never know what to budget for from year to year, so you would try to put a miscellaneous in there with purchases like that come up with a good deal that it did come up. And we've discussed it with our former firearms instructors, with Ken Peterson, Sean Ryan, Ed Parker, and it just, instead of throwing them in the backseat of a squad car or in the tailgate of, on the back of the truck, sliding around, since we take the steel out to the shooting range, and there's no place to leave it up there, so we'll be able to build some compartments inside the trailer that's enclosed and, you know, keep from things getting tore up in the back of the squad car or the truck. So, but it's coming out of minor equipment.
Well, I actually had several questions this time for Dan myself, because just wondering also where these things are coming out of the budget. That was mostly my questions. A lot of it was unclear to me, too. Some things have memos and say, you know, where they're coming from, and some don't, so it's hard to tell for me.
So I guess if you know what line item or something like that, so we know it's a,
Yeah, but it's hard to put for every item that's on there, what line item it's coming out of, I guess. Maybe there's another report we can run to attach it. So I'll look into a different report if you're interested and see where every claim line item comes out of. Because it's hard to know which ones that you're looking at, you know? I can look and see about another report maybe. That will give you that. See what we can do if you want that. It gives you a summary at the end, you know, so you kind of see overall. But each particular line item is not broken down on this.
And it's hard for us to see too, just glancing at that, knowing which items are, you know, fixing something required, and then something that was kind of optional, and, you know, just added on there as a, hey, we'd like to have this. But, you know, we don't necessarily need it, we'd like it. Well, it's hard when that's not separated out for us to really look through that list and know from 3 or 4 words.
Like I said before, if you ever have any questions, you get on Fridays, just shoot me a text message, give me a call, I'll explain anything that you have on there.
Absolutely, and I'm not picking on you on this.
I'm
This is
just telling you, it'd be much easier than, you know, if you got a question, just give one of the department heads a call and say, hey, what's going on, you know, why is this on there? So,
Yep.
we're the ones that deal with it every day, you know, we know what we're looking at and getting into, so.
That's what I actually did do this time with Dan. I sent him several questions, but I was just trying to think of a way that we could avoid having to ask the questions to begin with. But,
I'll see about different reports.
okay.
Thank you.
any other questions? Roll call.
Are we Heitmeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Waterman?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll move on to staff reports. Dan?
As I said last Friday, Leslie's provided the budget materials for next year to the department heads, and as always, my advice is to try to stay with last year's spending as much as possible. Obviously, we know things go up, and there's likely to be a small inflationary increases, but anything more than that, they're going to have to explain to you and all of that. So they'll be working on that. It takes them a little while to put all that together. So at some point in December, we typically haven't done this in the past, but I think we probably need to get together for a workstation maybe in early December or something. And so I wanted you to think about anything out of the ordinary that you guys might want to spend some money on or whatever projects, and so we can bring that up at that time so we can get started when we won't have the revenue numbers yet, so we won't really know how much money we have, but it'd be good for planning purposes to kind of know the direction we're going to be going with that. And we should have all the stuff from the department heads around that time, so we'll know what all the department heads are sort of looking at too. And I'm back to work on some of the capital equipment planning now that things have slowed down a little bit. So I should have most of that all together for at least for the equipment by the time we start, and probably for some of the major buildings too. But some of that's a little hard to deal with. But I'll have some of that put together by the December planning session, so we can have that to look at as well. And Sean has a family commitment tonight, and he gave me a memo, so let me give you the highlights because it's pretty long. He's working with engineers at the hospital. They're working at building a new building out there by their main entrance. He's working with them on that. He's doing some nuisances. There's a few lawns that he's got contractor mowing around town. Menard Storage Building, as you see if you've been by there, they're working on that, doubling the size of the storage building. That's going along. Plus, their main store, they're doing something with the canopy there where the entrance to the backyard is to double the capacity of people going in and out of that. On the fire side, he did hose tests last Saturday. All the hose came back good, which I don't think that's ever happened before where we haven't had to replace any hose, but that's good news. Engine 2, if you remember, you approved the repairs to the steering. That's done. I guess it's working really good. They've been doing some work on the training site, and of course there's a pancake breakfast on the 17th. It's going to be drive-through only, limited deliveries, and free will donation. And typically they go into the schools and do a bunch of work on Fire Prevention Week. Because of COVID, that's going to be really limited this year. So that's all he had.
Any questions for Dan?
I wanted to mention on the Sean side, just that this is election season, but I've seen quite a few yard signs put out right next to the road. So just wanted to mention that, so people listening heard that, to move them back out of the city right away. I noticed quite a few walking down Houston today.
Mike?
We've been doing a lot of street repairs, sidewalk repairs. We got the salt in the dome for the winter. It's all hauled and put away. South lift project's going along good. They've located the force main in the ditch, waiting on valves. COVID's kind of hampered the contractor from getting air reliefs and valves. He has pipe. They're in the process of running all the pipe now, and when they get down to where the station's going, they'll be able to dig the hole, set the box. They'll be doing everything they can do until their valves and the rest of their equipment shows up. Then they'll go back and dig up and cut those valves and air reliefs in that they need to do. Seems like everything's moving along quick and good with them for them just starting the project. The dowel pin rod project, they're still trying to crack seal. They've been sawing all the cracks down there along with the South Lifts construction going. It's kind of congested down there on South Gear, so if you can avoid using South Gear, it'd be a good idea. The October 14th, I'm going to be setting up cones over at St. Mary's. They've requested some cones. They're going to be doing a drive-through flu shot. The health department is. So we'll be setting up cones and stuff so they can run people through to get their flu shots. Pool painters showed up. They were sanding. They'll be sanding and prepping all week and start painting on next week. And looks like they got good weather that they're going to be able to get through and get that done. Houston project, all the asphalt's down. Matt called me today to let me know he couldn't make it and pass it on that Daly will be here Monday morning and they'll start cutting curbs and sidewalks to start down there and get all the ADA requirements in. Which brings up another point that I need to get an answer from on that project is the Melville sidewalks. What do we decide what we are or we aren't doing? I would like to have them go ahead and put in the handicap ramps in one square while they're doing all the curb cutting and everything off of Houston and set it up. And like I have passed on, that wasn't in my budget this year to do that, but if we have them set that up and then when we get the money, or I'll get it in the budget for next year, we can take off and do either both sides or one side of Melville. I just think why they're here doing all that, to let them cut the curb and get the ramps in would be a good idea. But I got to have that answer from you guys on what you want to do there. We can get a change order set up for that, or a change order set up to do one side or both sides or whatever. We just need to get an answer to pass on to them, because they're going to be the guy that does all their sawing will be here first thing Monday morning, and he'll go down through the whole street and get everything cut so they can start in on their ADA requirements. And that's all I got.
Mike, how many ADA requirements are there on that street?
Every intersection sidewalk, where the asphalt was laid, every intersection sidewalk that is existing will be redone to match, and the panels will be put in, curbs will be cut and replaced. Except it wasn't on the plans for Millville because there's no existing sidewalks at that intersection. Any questions?
I just wanted to comment that I thought the work on Houston's been going well. I thought your road signage as well was great, and the way you've worked and opened it up through the evenings so people are still able to get through. Thought it's been great. I wondered if you've had any major issues with people driving through road construction as you did out in Mount Pleasant.
A lot.
Okay.
But I wasn't on site, but every time I come by, there were people going around signs and driving down through, and I know the contractor has dealt with that for the whole project.
Really?
But they've worked with it and moved people away from their equipment and get them back out of the work zone. There was a lot of concern on dead-end streets and stuff, but they had flag people there. We had one flag person that was confused, and I went up. You'd called me on that alley. We'd forgot about that alley. She wasn't aware of that. Some were concerned about their trash not getting picked up because trash day. I told them that not to worry about it. I'd be in bright and early Monday, and I was going to drag everybody's trash down to Houston so that it would get taken care of, and I was going to put all their trash cans back. I think I had everything covered on this so far to help everybody however I could to get through it. So, yes, it's been moving right along, and I hope Joey can get here Monday morning and get going, tearing out the sidewalks and keep it moving.
And I'd like to get you an answer on what to do on these sidewalks. I'm surprised we don't have this as an agenda item so we can vote on it.
I don't think we talked back and forth about 50 different plans last time. We never really had I wouldn't know what to even put on the agenda because we talked about several different options. So,
Wasn't Matt supposed to get back with us on a bid for?
I believe there was two other costs that we were going to get.
Yeah.
We never decided what change order to give him because it was back and forth of one side, two sides.
Right, so it should have been on the agenda, I think, so that we could discuss it now and decide.
And I can tell you what I want, but I don't think it's official if we don't really have it on the agenda.
well, you can direct us to get a change order for you to approve next time. At least we'll have some direction that way.
I mean, give me a direction to go, and then we can have it on the next council meeting.
And you guys can do, if we do have these people do the crossing, the entrance into the street, then you're saying the city works can go in and do the sidewalk portion.
I don't have any problem with doing that. It's just that in my budget for my concrete and sand and all that, it's a long project like that. I didn't have it budgeted, and I'm just trying to do as you ask and stay within my budget.
Yeah.
That's the only
It kind of
reason.
makes sense to do a big project like that, to plan that through our budget process anyway. So if we plug in just the handicap ramps and one square, it won't be that much for that, just do two more of those.
Right. My recommendation, the same as it's been this entire time, is on the west side of Melville, there on Houston, to go ahead and add the entrance ramps right there so that later when we want to, we can continue it on down that west side. I think that makes the most sense because you're not going through the middle of a parking lot later through the middle of the church. There's more sidewalk on that side all the way down that connects.
Well, actually, when I went down there on the west side too, city right-of-way is just a parking lot down there too. We would have to retain right-of-way from their parking. We don't have anything after that. Coming up to where the houses start after the church, there's parking there too, and I don't think we have enough room to put a sidewalk in. Pretty much.
You're talking after the church going south.
Yes.
Okay. But if we added two houses right there on the north side, right off of Houston, that would connect all the way down through the church until the middle of the church.
Correct.
So then all we would have to do is work with them on a sidewalk there along that, basically one large empty lot to connect up to that large house there on the south side.
Yep.
To me, that makes the most sense, other than the other side where we would need sidewalk that whole way.
Which I know the church has contacted me, and I've worked with Kelly on it. They're have had discussion about selling that in the building lots, and at that point, I don't know, would you remove the parking in the street so that we can put the sidewalk and their driveways in then, or I don't know what would happen there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's, I wasn't trying to solve the whole problem today. I was just
understand.
trying to get the part that we're already going to be in there. And that makes sense. They're already selling one of those lots. One's listed today, the one back behind them on Vernon.
Oh, okay.
So that process may be starting, but to me, that makes the most sense. It's less money than going through later and adding something through that whole parking lot on the east side.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I could do it now. It's just that I think what Dan said, the council's input on what projects they would like to see done. I have a ton of projects I'd like to see done, but I know we can only budget so many and we can only do so much. So if you guys would give me your input, that would help me with what projects to get bids on and prices and be able to put in the budget. I mean, there's no sense me doing all the footwork for something that you'd rather spend the money somewhere else. So you guys' input would be great before this time, like you said, to let us know where you want to go.
Well, that's why it should be budgeted. And that's what we can do when we start with our new budget. We can put, if we're interested in doing that sidewalk, we can budget for it. I'm glad that we said something and didn't go ahead with the 32,000 and 76,000 with all that. So I'm with Andy. I think that we should, my input on this is go ahead and do what you said for the ADA while they're here. And
You want to just do the west side like Andy said, or do you want to do both?
well, does that matter right now?
Well, if you're going to have them do it, it matters. If you eventually want to put sidewalk down both sides,
This just doesn't seem like the right way to handle this whole thing.
It's not. No, I was just trying to save money for later
Yeah.
because that's something I would like to get done eventually is get that sidewalk connected. And if we're already in there cutting these sidewalks and we're on that street, we got the guy there, I assume it's cheaper to do it now than come back some other time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I guess I do agree that the west side would be the best thing to do now. So I don't know what the rest of you guys think.
I don't know if we have sidewalk down on the east side, does it end at your house, Leslie?
Right before you get to my house, you're headed.
Right before? I don't know.
Just wait on all of it too. Put it in the budget for next year if that's what you want to do. I just letting you know they're coming through doing the cutting and all that's going to be taking place here within the next week or two. If you wanted that put in at this time.
Well, can they do the cutting and put the ADA sidewalks on both sides of Melville
They
and?
can do however you want it done.
Then down the road, you could at least connect a sidewalk to something that is there, even, I mean, down the
And
road.
we've talked
That
about
approach would be
doing
there.
Houston, which you would need it on the other side too, to get that block from Spring to Melville and from Melville to the mall. You would have to have that cut in there for that at that time anyway, so.
Which in those areas, we've got a sidewalk on the other side of the street already.
Yep.
it makes us odd because it kind of came up after this whole project was planned and designed and all that, and it was we're trying to add it on. That's why it's kind of different than we normally do it. Normally, we talk these things through as we're planning for the project, but at the time when we were planning this a year ago or more, that sidewalks weren't an issue at that point. So that's why it's kind
And
of
it can all wait,
backwards the way we're
it can all
doing
wait
it.
till next year too. We don't even have to do anything right now.
Just do both. Might as well just do both. That's the biggest
I
expense.
mean, that's what I think. If they're there, you might as well do both
Do both
of those.
sides,
It
yeah.
might sit there for 5 years on the east side and not get hooked to anything, but I guess that doesn't hurt anything. It'll just look a little weird for a while, but
How much money are we talking here for these things?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the.
See, that's the other thing. We
Can't
don't
be very
have
much.
any idea. No idea.
It can't be very
Matt
much.
was supposed to come back with that cost as
Yeah,
well
and
as,
Matt never got
pardon me?
back to me with that.
Matt was supposed to come back to us with that cost.
they'll have them put together a change order for both sides and see then we'll have the price and you guys can act on it at the
Yeah,
next
can
agenda.
You get a hold of Matt and we can just do
Yeah.
a phone
Get a hold of him
call.
tomorrow, and
We got,
his chances are they're not going to be done before the next meeting anyway, I would think, but,
like we weren't prepared.
okay.
All right, and then you said there were some incidences with people crossing over the barrier and stuff.
Yeah, going around signs, getting on their asphalt in front of them, and a lot of that is, a lot of what people were seeing was the flagmen having to let people out of dead-end streets, but the times I was up there with the engineer and watching what was going on, people were still just coming around signs and driving down the road. And they'd have to get somebody up there to point them out through another way. It just,
We didn't have our police car there. We talked about setting up.
when there's one officer on duty, I know, like I've said before, I can't expect that officer to sit there with all the calls and everything else they got to go do.
But that wasn't really our project, though,
No, it's
either,
not, it
so-
wasn't even our project. I mean, the other instance with my road construction, and I'm just saying, yes, it's not just me, it's all road construction, and safety is a big issue right now. People just do not abide by the signs at all.
Anybody else have anything else for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Mike?
We got Tyler. He's going well through his FTO program. We did have some burglaries last night, and just like normal, we just remind all the residents here in West Burlington that if they see anything, to report it immediately. Don't wait 2, 3, 4 hours later and say, oh, I saw this or I saw that. Just repeat it or report it as soon as possible. Brad was working on the police department website, and he does have on there now where if a citizen of West Burlington would like to register their cameras, their security cameras that they have, they can do that on the website or get a hold of myself or Stacia, and we can get them through that and get the videos if they would like to. It's totally up to them. They don't have to, but it just would help us out if something gets burglarized in this part of town. If we know there's some cameras there, we might be able to go back and see if we have any suspects.
Were they breaking into cars and stuff, Jeff?
Last night we had 2 vehicles broke into and a resident, occupied resident. So any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks, Jesse.
Leslie, do you have anything? I'll start with you first. You have anything?
No, just Spears going to give their TIF report tonight.
Okay. Kelly?
Not tonight. I was going to mention the flu shot clinic. I told Gina I would do that. It's going to be at St. Mary's. Hold on, I just had it pulled up. Wednesday, the 14th. Just a drive-through clinic. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just bring your insurance card, and sounds like they will be taking insurance. Otherwise, it's $35 if you are going to just direct pay for it.
Brad, do you have anything? It's good. All right. Other staff reports. Kathy, do you have anything?
I have a couple of things. We've all gotten our newsletter now, and it was really informative and interesting, and I'd like to thank Kelly and Katie for putting that together. And my article that was in there has gotten some response on the trees. I've had calls, but we'll be working on that tree grant during the winter. I've also had a few calls about the Neighbors Helping Neighbors project, and so that project is for someone who needs help with their leaves or snow removal, and people who are willing to give people a hand in town. And So now the City of West Burlington's website has a tab that people can go to, a Neighbors Helping Neighbors tab, and it's really easy to navigate. They can put their information in there, or if they still want to call me, that's fine. I'd be glad to have anybody call and talk to them about it. And I want to thank Brad for putting that on the website. It's just super easy, and it's informative too. There's a lot of information on there about the Neighbors Helping Neighbors program. So that's it.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing, Andy?
Good.
Royce?
Good.
All right. Well, moving on. We have a proclamation tonight. To enlarge this. Holy smokes. The proclamation is Domestic Violence Awareness Month for October. The proclamation reads, the City of West Burlington, whereas domestic violence, dating violence, stalking affects women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds, causing long-term physical, psychological, and emotional harm. And whereas 1 in 3 Americans have witnessed an incident of domestic violence, and whereas children who experience domestic violence are at a higher risk for failure in school, mental illness, substance abuse, suicide, and may choose violence as a way to solve problems later in life. And whereas domestic violence in rural communities exists as a hidden, silent, and often unrecognized crime that is often underreported, and whereas through the inspiration, courage, and persistence of victims of domestic violence, their children, and advocates, our communities are learning to recognize the impact of violence in the home and intimate relationships. And whereas the Domestic Violence Intervention Program has worked to end violence in intimate relationships for more than 40 years through the collaborative partnerships of advocates, volunteers, local municipalities, criminal justice, health and human services, faith communities, business leaders, and private citizens. And whereas our community's achievements should be commended, and we must continue our commitment to respect and support victims of domestic violence and to prevent future violence in our community. Now, therefore, I, Therese Lees, Mayor Pro Tem of West Burlington, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2020 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in West Burlington, Iowa, and urge all citizens to work together to eliminate domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking from our community. Right. So now we'll move on to citizens' inquiries. We have no citizens. And we have a public hearing tonight, and the public hearing is on the proposal to enter into a sewer revenue loan and distribution agreement for the South Lift Station project. Ellie, have we had any written comments?
No comments that I've received.
Any council comments? I'll close the public hearing. We'll move on to new business. The first order, number 1, is a resolution authorizing and approving a loan and disbursement agreement and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of $1,189,000 for the sewer revenue bonds, Series 2020.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any questions or comments? Concerns? No? Roll call.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees.
Aye. Motion approved. Now we'll go on to item number 2. We have Maggie Berger here from Spears Financial, and she'll review our city's annual TIF debt report. Welcome.
Hi, Mayor. How are you? Hello, everyone from the council. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Wonderful. You should have your colorful pages in front of you, and I do appreciate being able to do this virtually this evening. What I can report on is we don't have any new red or general obligation debt Everything that is basically the same as last year in this area. And I remind the city that we give you your principal, we give you principal and interest, we give you some of the interest rate details in the upper part of that box. And then we show you what the total principal is outstanding of $4,069,000 of principal of GO debt. We give you the principal and interest, and we do buy some of that debt down with TIF revenues in the yellow column on page 2. And we also buy some of that debt down with local option sales tax revenue. So this ultimately results in a $0 property tax for the outstanding general obligation debt that you have. Please go ahead and stop me at any time. We will move on into the orange pages where we do have an update. The action that you just took on the agenda prior to this item was to enter into a sewer revenue SRF loan. So we have now listed that, the 2020 loan, for $1,189,000. This is an estimated amount. You enter into this as a not to exceed amount. Depending on where the final project costs end up, you may end up borrowing something less. So at the very bottom of that column on our orange pages, we have marked this with an asterisk that says preliminary. Each year, we will check to see if this project is completed before we bring this report out, and we will put the final schedule in here as soon as we have this. Because this is a 2020 note, it would be callable in approximately 10 years, in approximately 2030. And I remind you that all of the revenue debt that you have outstanding, water and sewer, is paid with water and sewer revenues. This does not count against your debt capacity, and you do pay it with the revenues of the utility systems, so there is no property taxes levied or can be levied for this type of debt. The city does still have 2 rebate agreements outstanding. Both of them are in the Blackhawk Urban Renewal area, and they're for campus community developers for Millennium Hall and Blackhawk Tower. Those rebate agreements, the Millennium Hall rebate agreement on the purple pages is just 1 year, fiscal year 22, from being complete, is just 1 year from being complete. The Blackhawk Tower goes out a little bit longer till 2028. And then we have shown you that the Greater Burlington Partnership support amount in there of $5,000 in 22 through 2025. Those are the total rebate agreements. Those are all annually appropriated, which means this council takes action no later than December 1st when you're certifying for the TIF to say we will appropriate these because they've done their part as dictated by the agreement. You know, maybe they've built the development, paid their taxes, etc., which leads you to appropriating their rebate agreement. We go on to our yellow pages, and this is where we represent that the 2017 bond is, I believe, fully paid with TIF revenues. And so we've recreated that schedule here on the yellow pages of principal and interest. And this gives Leslie a taller column there to say, this is the amount of TIF receipts you will need to transfer into the general obligation debt service fund each and every year when you receive those in so you can make those bond payments. You do have some internal loans that go on from page 1 and page 2, and Leslie has double checked those amounts, making sure that we have the accurate amount as to what is still owed on those inter-fund or sub-fund loan amounts. We bring in the purple pages. From the purple pages, we bring in the column for the rebate agreements that you have outstanding to be paid. And then in the far right column, the far right large column, we tell you how many dollars you need to certify to the TIF district to not only make the debt payments, but also to make the rebate payments. We've drawn an arrow to fiscal year 22, although we've only started fiscal year 21. You will be certifying to the TIF district no later than December 1 of this year for fiscal year 22. We go on to just a couple more sections, and the next pages are your green pages or your general obligation debt capacity. We're going to look at column number 2, and I'm going to read straight down that. This shows the annual increase in valuation as well as how much you have remaining in debt capacity. The city of West Burlington has a property actual valuation of $306 million. This has grown by 3.65% from last year. That's a phenomenal growth rate over last year. That gives you a statutory debt limit, which is 5%, of $15,335,000. You have $4,069,000 of debt outstanding, and you have those rebate agreements, again, annually appropriated of $78,205 for this year. You will pay back $646,000 of debt this year, and again, you will pay those rebate agreements of $78,205. That will leave you at the end of this fiscal year with remaining debt capacity of $11,912,000, or approximately 77%. Now, we've always talked to the city and other cities about not ever issuing more than maybe 80% of your debt capacity. So if we knocked 20% off right off the top, that would leave you still with $8,845,000 of capacity, and that's after we remove some, and that's still about 57%. I will tell you, compared to some other TIF reports that we do, the city of West Burlington, for your size, you are probably on the upper end of having remaining debt capacity, meaning you're very healthy in the fact that there is a remaining debt capacity that could be used for projects if something were to come up in the next few years. This does go on for 2 pages, and we've used a growth rate of 2% just so you can kind of look across the board to see when the debt would be repaid. And then our very last section is our blue pages, and this is where we talk about the actual increment that has grown over and above the base value. So I remind you, your desk, for example, is the base value, and anything that grows over and above that is what we consider incremental valuation, and that's what's represented here. On column number 2, which is fiscal year 21, you have commercial property valuation of $90,628,000. We do take rollback on all of these to be conservative. You have industrial increment of $6,214,000. You have some personal property and ag of about $523,000. We've got residential property of $68,011,000. And then multi-residential of $6,811,000. I will remind you that the multi-residential rollback gets deeper each and every year, and eventually will merge with the residential rate when we get to fiscal year 23. So we have a couple more years there of that rollback going down before it merges. This produces for you TIF taxable value of $123 million, and at the TIF tax rate of $31.18, that produces approximately $3.8 million. Now you're using, for general obligation debt service, $611,000. You're using $78,000 in TIF rebates, and you're using about $61,000 in interfund loans. This leaves you about $2.6 million of unclaimed TIF dollars. We are not telling you to go out and claim those. You do have to have obligations to claim TIF, and also the money that you have not been claiming in the past few years is value. The money that is made up, the valuations that make up those dollars, have been rolling into the city, the county, and the school district's budget. So by asking for a lot more TIF numbers without a huge growth, you would be harming your own budget. The TIF district valuations did grow by about 1.4%. So again, we've given about a 0.75% growth rate going forward, and this does go on for a couple pages as well. But I think it's fair to be said that the city is doing exactly what TIF was meant to do, service the obligations, not only if they were debt, but also rebate obligations, but turn back over to the budgets of the city, the county, and the school any obligations they are not needing, or any incremental receipts they are not needing, get turned back over. And so that's exactly the way TIF was intended to be used. with that, I'd answer any questions that you have. I know that's a whole lot of information in a short amount of time.
Do you have any questions for Maggie? No. Nope. Well, you either explained it really well or we're stumped. I would say you explained it really well.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that. So thank you very much for having me, and I will sign off your meeting now.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. We'll go on to item number 3 is to consider payment to Snyder and Associates for engineering services in the following projects. Should wrote these down. For the, gotta make it small again. For the agency, I'll just read his memo. We'll start with the Lures
If you go to his
Park Wa-
memo, if you go to Dan's memo there, it's got them all listed.
Yeah, I'm going back to that. Thank you, Don. The Lures Park Water Quality Project was $4,903.50. The Water Tower Project was $20,315. The Des Moines County Landfill Station Project is $3,640, and the Agency Street Pedestrian Crossing Project is $1,303. Dan has recommended that we pay for all these projects.
So move.
Support.
Motion with support. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
Motion approved. Going on to item number 4, is consider payment to Jones, consider the payment Jones Contracting Corporation for work completed on the Gear Avenue Trail Project, in the amount of $4,620.11.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any questions or comments? Concerns? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie.
Aye.
Motion approved. Go to item number 5 is to consider payment to French Reniker Associates for engineering services related to the Houston Street Improvement Project.
So move.
Oh, thank you.
Support.
With support. My computer's froze. Nice. Kelly, will you say the amount while I get this thing going again? The invoice.
Joint, for Jones Contracting, $4,620.11.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. Roll call.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Motion approved. Moving on to consider payment to Norris Asphalt for work completed on the Houston Improvement Project. If I could look at that one.
Did we skip French?
I don't know, I'm having issues, Kelly.
You might have skipped French Reniker, did we?
Yeah, we just did French.
I thought we just did Jones.
No, we did Jones.
This is Norris.
We did Jones, we did French, now we're at
Okay.
Norris. Is your computer up and running again? Yeah, okay.
I can't click it. Oh, finally. The payment is $4,620. Did we just do that one?
No.
Oh, I didn't think so.
2,173.17 is Norris. We just did Houston Street for 4,620.11.
This one's
Oh,
for
wait
the
a second.
trail. The trail project, your
Wait.
Avenue Trail Project.
French is French's was, yeah, 2,173.17. Norris's is going to be, well, that's the wrong, I think that's the wrong memo.
Yeah, but that's the same memo from
Jones.
up there.
Sorry, I might have grabbed the wrong memo from Dan. Houston Street for Norris Asphalt is $43,302.61. That'll be in the engineer's memo, the second memo. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we need a resolution to consider the payment for $43,302.61.
So move.
Support.
Motion with support. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Please.
Aye.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Motion approved. Item number 7 is to consider resolution setting the public hearing date for the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and cost estimates for the Des Moines County Landfill Lift Station Improvement Project. And it is set for October 21st at 6 p.m.
Can answer any questions you guys have on this project and the water tower project. We're filing both today. We've provided a recommended schedule for going out to bid for these projects. The landfill lift station project, right now the landfill is hauling its leachate to the city of Burlington, and it's a high expense for them, so it was financially, it made more sense for them to have a lift station built that will send the leachate from the landfill to the city of West Burlington and reimburse the city of West Burlington for that cost and pay sewer bills for that indefinitely. And so that's what this project is. There will be a force main that comes down south from the lift station and then along Washington Road to the east, to the south, and then connecting to the city sewer system on Mount Pleasant Street.
As a city, do we have any expenses on this project?
No, they're reimbursing all of it.
Yeah,
It's-
there was, if the landfill had been the primary owner on this project, then they would have had to go through the solid waste permitting, which would have meant double-walled pipes and some other things that they're a little stricter, more requirements on their end. So we worked it out to where if we build it as a wastewater project with the city and then they reimburse you for that, we can do the same thing, less cost.
Yeah, we approved the 2080 agreement, the old council, before we started, that basically binds them to that, so.
Just to ask, because I've learned from previous dealings, we don't have to sign any other agreements or pass any other policies to do this deal?
No, this is just between us and the landfill, so
Okay.
there's no feds involved in this. That's where all that stuff normally comes in, is in the feds. And yeah, this is a 2080 agreement between the landfill and us, and they're going to pay our regular sewer rates when they eventually hook up. We're going to meter it out there, so there's going to be no estimation or anything like that. It just makes sense for them to do this, and it's pretty unbelievable what they've been paying to haul it to Burlington, and this gives us some revenue, and the reason for us doing it, if it saves the landfill money, it saves all of us money, because it would come out in our garbage fees eventually if the landfill what they charge. So us just doing the work here and letting them reimburse us saves us all some money. So it's a win-win, I believe.
And we were assured there's no contamination in the leachate, too.
Yeah, we
had them take
thoroughly
samples.
investigated that, and Ben can elaborate to what they found. There's really not much in it.
Well, yeah, we were concerned about the potential of metals because West Burlington has randomly, periodically in the past, had issues with spikes of various metals. We have never really figured out where it comes from, but we were concerned about that in the leachate, and so we had them sample for that, and they came back non-detects. There were a couple other things that the DNR was asking questions about, and those were also coming back non-detects. So there really aren't any concerns. There's going to be some BOD and some other more standard wastewater things that the treatment plant can take care of. And we've coordinated that with the DNR to make sure that the wastewater treatment plant is rated for that and that we're approved to do that.
More testing than we've done periodically, as years long, keep an eye on that?
Yeah, I've kind of been a little removed from this for most of this year, but there will be a significant industrial user agreement between you and them, most likely, and just like with what you have with Borgie and GE, they have to report their discharges to you. But I'm not sure where that's at.
And the probable cost of this is $910,000.
Yep, it's quite a distance from the landfill to city sewer system, but it's worth it for the landfill.
All motion to approve the hearing date of October 21st.
Support.
Motion with support. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Kelly.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees.
Aye. Motion approved. Move on to number 8 under the new business, and it's to consider a resolution setting a public hearing date on the proposed plan, specs, form of contract, form of notice to bidders, and engineer's opinion of probable cost for the Mount Pleasant Street Water Tower and Booster Station project. And it looks like that public hearing will also be on Wednesday, October 21st at 6 p.m. This project involves the construction of a 500,000-gallon composite-style water tower. And the project will also include the installation of approximately 4,400 feet of water main and 530 feet of storm sewer.
So generally, this project is to replace the facility that's on Gear Avenue right now, where the mural is with the train. That's an old water treatment building that's not been used for many years, and there's a ground storage tank there that has had several issues with leaking and flow control, and they've been having issues with the booster pumps at that station as well. It's just an old site, and we'd originally started talking about maybe doing this project before I worked at Snyder back in 2006, and then last year we got word that the ground storage tank was rusting through in multiple places and having trouble holding water. So we've tried to rush this through and get this out to bid. What the plan is, we're going to put a water tower behind the Public Works building, 500,000 gallons, composite style, which means it'll have a concrete pedestal and a steel bulb. And then instead of having a separate booster station like they have now, we found a system that will fit inside of the column of the tower. So the booster station will be in the tower. And that will save space and some building costs. And then there's going to be a lot of water main work to extend the Burlington supply line from near the car dealership, the intersection of Gear Avenue and Mount Pleasant Street, west to the Public Works Building, and then another water main to connect the tower back to the distribution system on Mount Pleasant Street. We're also including a catchment basin west of the tower, which will take runoff from the parking lot, and also whenever the tower is drained for maintenance, it'll go into that, and then the storm sewer will take that water east to a wooded ravine where it can be discharged without messing anything up. There were concerns about potentially eroding the farmer's field to the north if we were to just go under the railroad tracks with it. So we designed a storm sewer to take it east to a better place for that. We're also including, because we have so much work going on Washington Road, we're also including that section of the landfill lift station project in this project, because it would just be too complicated to have multiple contractors working in the same place at the same time, and who's responsible for what and who can work when. So part of that cost is in this project. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
This week too, I failed to pass on that the controller went out of the booster station and talking about replacing across the Jerry Brothers. It is down now for good. The problem happened is the back feeds into the tank, and it was Sunday if anybody saw it, and it'll overfill and come out holes. As of today, with my fingers crossed, we've got enough valves shut. We may have to cut in a line stop to stop the water. But we're take and draw all the water we can out of it and shut this valve. And I think we've got it shut where we don't have to manually keep running that tank down so it don't overflow. We can't run the pumps because the controller won't open the clay valve. We were running so many hours on the south, so many on the north. The north will not run on its own anymore. And with the tower coming to be built, me and Dan talked, it was silly to spend thousands of dollars trying to put a controller in there. So as of now, that is down. We're running strictly off the south. So we need to get this project going so we can have our second connection.
What's the time length of building this?
Unfortunately, I talked to several manufacturers and they weren't confident that they could get it done in one construction season. That was in part because Terracon discovered poor soils on the site and they're going to need some special deep foundations. So they can get a lot of it done next year, but they won't be able to finish up painting and some other miscellaneous items until early summer. We have a final completion date of June 30th, 2022. So it's going to be a little while. So
just plan out here that thing is down and be run manually, meaning the employee will have to be in twice a day on Saturday, twice a day on Sunday to keep that from overflowing. My first plan was that I talked to Dan was putting a line stop on and kill the water that and just shut it down and not waste the natural gas, because it's very inefficient to heat that building. But after talking with Ben tonight before the meeting, I don't think that's a good idea, because if something happened to the south, we could light this one back up and run it manually if we needed it until the tower's done. So I think we're going to leave that building heated and accessed for an emergency use only if we have to. It'll just mean people will be working night and day every day of the week to manually run, because you have to shut one down, turn another one on. It's very complicated not to blow mains apart doing this. But I'm going to keep it where we can open valves, fill the tank, and in an emergency until this tower is done, we'll still use it.
Motion with a second.
I don't have a motion.
I have a motion with a second. I don't have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any other questions for Ben you can think of? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
Christie.
Aye.
Motion approved. Thank heavens.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 9 is to consider the first reading of an ordinance amending section 73 of the city code regulations for the special 35 mile per hour and 45 mile per hour speed limits. You want to start this off, Dan?
Yeah, this is what Mike brought up a few weeks ago. Basically just changing the 45 on Agency Street from Broadway to Highway 406. And I don't remember what on Mount Pleasant Street. What are you talking, Mike?
From Gear to our shop, Washington Road.
This actually reads from Schwartz because it's already in place.
It's already in place.
So
in
it'd be
Schwartz.
from Schwartz to Mount Pleasant Street, from Schwartz to Washington Road.
But it's already 35 at Schwartz.
It's already 35 at Schwartz, from Schwartz to Gear Avenue.
Yeah.
So just the wording of it, just what's really changing is, like you said, from Gear out to Washington Road on Mount Pleasant Street, and then on Agency from the east city limits all the way to Washington Road would be 35.
Already all of Gear Avenue, South Gear Avenue, where it's developed, that's already 35, and that's a very similar traffic pattern and development as on Agency Street, and there really doesn't make much sense to have all of Gear 35 and Agency 45.
Vision is the same way. It's been 35 all the way here.
I'm going to motion to table until after a traffic study is completed pursuant to our city code.
I agree with that. It says in our city code that in order to change our speed limits, that we have to have done a study.
Do you want me to contact Snyder and have them do that one that I quoted for $9,000?
Is there someone else that we can ask too? Can we?
I could get another quote. I don't know whether that would be.
Because I don't think they took us very seriously from the way it was worded, that we weren't really even interested in doing it. So either tell them, yes, we are interested, or.
And could we not do a study with the devices we talked about at last meeting?
I mean, we could get data, but I'm not sure what we do with the data once we get it. We would know how fast everybody was going, but I don't know what you do with that. I mean, sure, we would know what everybody was going. I think you'll find that on Agency, people will go what the speed limit is. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the right speed that they're going.
Well, I'm just reading the information that was sent over by the Department of Transportation, and that was the 85th percentile is the safe speed on those roads, on every road.
Well, we can do whatever you want to do. I just don't.
I'm going to have to disagree. I don't see why we should spend $9,000 for a traffic study when we can go ahead and change the speed limits for the safety of our citizens and our workers. We're wanting to save money, but we're willing to spend $9,000 on this when we don't have to.
No, I think we can borrow those devices from regional planning and put them up there for 3 days.
The problem is, if you read our ordinances, it says that in order to change a traffic or a speed limit, a study has to have been done.
What do we do what we get on those signs? Are you saying that if 85% of the people are running 50 mile an hour down Agency, then that's what we set it to?
That's what the information the Iowa Department of Transportation sent over, is that the safest speed is the one that is most regularly travel.
How does that, I guess I'm totally lost. I don't even know how to understand that. That has nothing to do with safety. That means everybody.
Imagine if you went out onto the highway today and we just decided to put out a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on it. That would reduce the safety because people would expect on that road to go faster. That's their expectation.
I agree on highway.
Yeah,
but this has all
how
been
much different?
This has all been so developed since that speed was there.
I agree with you on agency.
The DOT, they're talking all highways too. That's what they're talking about when they put that out. That's what they deal with is high-speed traffic. They don't necessarily deal with the urban stuff like we're talking about. So, like I said, this is a policy decision the council has to make. You've got my recommendation from 3 department heads and one of your council people, and you'll have to decide what you want to do.
Well, I've made my motion. I think we have it in city code. We should follow city code. I don't like that my city manager is recommending going against city code. I think we hire you to do city code. So I don't like that recommendation, and my motion's on the table.
I second it.
Have you checked with the regional planning to see if those devices are available? I know
I have them out in the front. They're in the lobby. I have them.
Oh, you have them?
Yes. Only one of them actually works to record but one of them that will record speeds. Yeah, it's up by the elevator right now.
Oh, you should have had them out working. You just got them?
We just got them today.
Okay.
I think last time we brought them up, it was mentioned that they wanted to put them on Broadway. So right now they're programmed for 25 mile an hour. If you wanted to put them somewhere else, we'll have to have them come and reprogram them. But that's not a big deal. It's hooking up a laptop to them and reprogramming to whatever speed we want.
And they don't have to be on showing speeds, right? They can just record.
They can be in stealth mode. Yeah.
Could we reach out and see if they have others that record?
No, I got what they had. And they're both the same, so the one must just not be working is why it doesn't record. Because to me, they look exactly the same, and I was told today that only one of them will actually record speeds. I don't know. Jesse, did you have some that you were going to get to?
I have a company that is willing, or that can do a speed study, but it'll be over a month before they get it in here. And that was for a different project that I was looking at.
Do we have a timeline on when we need to get that back to the planning?
I think they told me that Burlington had it for a few months, so.
Oh, well, we get 3.
When we had it, they were still using it when I requested it, so they went over there and got it from them, so.
I look at it, the longer we put it off is the longer going, not considering the safety for our city workers and the public,
What do they put that crosswalking out there at SCC?
It's the contracts.
So it's out there, right?
The contract's been, the bid's been accepted, and I don't know where exactly we're at,
But it's soon.
Yeah.
it's soon.
The only problem, Royce, is that I don't like the city abusing the city code.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, then why have a code if
Yeah,
we're going to
that's-
ignore it?
Yeah, code we need to look at, yeah.
I have a motion with a second on the table to table that until we get some studies. And is there a reason we could get that out there tomorrow after they get it reset?
Well, is that what we're going to go with? Is it the 85% thing? Because I'm not a traffic engineer. I'm not sure what to do with that data when I get it. We can put it out there and get data, but
Maybe it could be researched and you could see what to do with the data that we get.
well, again, I could do that, but I'm not a traffic engineer.
And it doesn't say in code it has to be done by an engineer. It just says engineering and study.
Nope, it just says it's a traffic study. It doesn't even say what a traffic study is.
Well, I think if we look at that in combination with the number of accidents, that might.
And you already have that
They
data,
just-
and it was pretty significant.
I have a roll call on the motion that's to table this until we have further studies.
Christie,
Roll call,
Aye.
Kelly.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman,
Aye.
Motion approved. Item number 10 is to consider the first reading of an ordinance creating a new chapter in the city code titled Work Zones. You want to take this one, Dan? You talk to the attorney.
I'd rather, Mike, this is Mike's deal about his safety, but this came from the city attorney after he was here that day and listened to all the input, and you asked him why he was here to put this together. And so this is the ordinance that he completely wrote, and it went as far as he thought that Iowa code would let us go. So this is the maximum that we can possibly do as a city. And again, I recommend we adopt this ordinance, at least the first reading. That's what's up in front of you tonight, is the first reading of this ordinance.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion with a second. If I read this, there's like two different fines for different things.
There's two ways to go about it. There's a city code and state code. If it gets beyond what we can do as a city, he suggests just filing it under state code, and the penalties are significantly better or higher for that. But we don't get the revenue like we do when it's a city ordinance, because we get a portion of the fines when it's city. And he thought to reserve that for if somebody actually would get ran into or something of that nature, where it was really, really, really serious, and that we would use the state code and go after them, I think, criminally at that point.
My point of this whole thing was nothing to do with revenue for the city. About safety for my employees.
Safety. But I was confused on the different fines and jail time. I have a motion with a second. Any other discussion on this?
I just wanted to ask Mike on the enforcement side of this conversation, do you think there's anything else other than this ordinance that needs to be done?
No, I think this should be a pretty good eye-opener for some people. I think if this continues and we have this and some people are fined, and I think the rest of the community maybe will pay attention.
Same thing, Jesse, you're on the same side enforcing this.
So are we going to have the car decked out with a camera that we can...
That's up to you guys. If you would like to go
Otherwise, who's
that.
going to stand there and get a license plate while the guys are working?
That was an option that's brought up. If you guys are okay with that, we'll leave that equipment in that car. They were going to retire and just set it at each work zone while we're out there, so that it's not he said, she said. We will have video of it.
Obviously, it's going to have to be pointed in the right direction, and you could miss some things, but certainly would help.
We'll have to keep moving it as we move and try our best to try and get a video too.
And when we sell those Crown Vics, we get $3,000 or something at the most, so it's not really, and the insurance is really nothing on those either when they're old like that, so we're really not out much by not selling that car.
Do you need any additional signage to point out where a work zone stops and starts? Or
I've been adding to my signage as I go along. I'll be kind of at a standstill now because of budget, but I've got our adequate signs, and I'm up to where I need to be pretty much. There's a few I need that I can wait till next year's budget, but.
And in terms of how this reads, you have the signage that would delineate
the
that.
Penalties? No, I have no signs stating.
Not the penalties, but that would mark clearly that this is where these penalties start.
All my barrels, my cones, my work zones, my right lane, left lane, speed limits in the work zones, alternating traffic, closed to through traffic. Yes, I have everything I need that I've been using now that is still getting ignored. I've even purchased mowing ahead signs, because when we're mowing medians out here, we have the same problem. There's 2 lanes of traffic. Semis and cars will not move over. That's a state law. There's flashing lights, hazard lights on that tractor when they're mowing, and they'll continuously buzz the guy on the mower instead of getting in the other lane. So now I got signs made that when we're out mowing medians, we'll be setting up signs first. it's just another step that just keeps slowing me down, but somebody's going to get killed. So yes, I'm putting signs up for all of it, so if they're not moving over, when we're mowing, I'm going to let Jesse know, have his guy out there somewhere sitting, and if these people are doing this, I'm going to start pulling these people over that are not moving over, and I want the fines issued.
You guys might have to start wearing body cameras too. Roll call.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion approved. Item number 11 is to consider the right-of-way permit for Windstream Iowa Communications.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Are there any questions or comments? Oh, roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Motion approved. And item number 12 is to consider the purchase of a pump for the Emerald Glen Lift Station. Mike, you want to come up and just talk about that? Thank you.
We're just recently doing our annual service to all the lift stations. Pump company comes down, pulls them all, checks them, impellers and everything. And I don't know exactly what year that lift station was put in, but we've never had anything done to any pumps there. But we had a bad impeller and a seal out. To rebuild that pump is 12 weeks out waiting on parts. Then they have to put it together. I don't like sitting there with one pump. I don't have the prices in front of me. You got the prices. I'm just asking to go ahead because in 1 week I can have a new pump here and have the lift station online with both pumps again, and then still having the other one rebuilt, putting on the shelf sewer plant because we're putting another housing district subdivision that'll be pumping into this, and I have a backup, like I have a backup at the south right now, and there's one more lift station pump house out far west by Sunset that I'm going to be adding that to my budget this year. I don't like running with one waiting on something because if that fails, you know the results of that. So Rod and me discussed this, and we talked to Dan. I think it's just best to purchase one, get it in, and we're up and going. And in 13, 14 weeks down the road, whatever it is, I'll have that one rebuilt and back to us so that if that other pump in there, as old as it is, if something fails with it, we'll have one and we can put in and then rotate out one and get it fixed. I know a lot of this has to do with this virus, and like I said, with the South Lift Station, trying to get parts in and trying to get stuff to fix things. It's hurting every aspect of our job. Okay. I know it wasn't budgeted for, but there's money in Rod's account. I don't know if he put what.
He put the account number.
Account number there where he's sticking it, where we do maintenance and stuff like that. It's all in the budget. It's not like I'm spending anything that wasn't budgeted for. Just wasn't one of those deals that we weren't planning on doing right now, but the money's in there. And
well, so far that's how 2020's gone, so
yeah.
What the heck.
That was my only question was, Leslie, on that account, is there those funds in there? I don't know how much we budgeted on that number.
There's way more than that in that budget. I don't remember things. I didn't write the numbers down out of that account number, but
we don't have a lot of maintenance for the sewer because there's always a big pump or something breaks.
yeah.
So the quote on a new pump is $4,275 plus freight, and then it's $2,800 to repair the other pump, but it'll take 12 weeks.
That's just to get the parts. That's not even putting it back together.
Nice part. But then you'll use that for a backup, just in case.
So move.
Support.
No support. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Waterman,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye. Motion approved. Item number 13 is to consider resolution setting a public hearing date to consider disposing of the city-owned property located at 310 West Burlington Avenue. You want to do this, Dan?
Sure. This is just setting a public hearing, but this is with regard with the lot at 310 West Burlington Avenue that had gifted to us, and we ended up tearing the house down. And you've heard some proposals about building on 314 and on 310 for getting a house built. You approved a while ago the workforce housing grant for $1,000 per unit that you had agreed to contribute as local match for that grant. This takes away that $1,000 and it basically just gives this lot over to the Housing Trust Fund to place a house on that lot. We're reserving at least 45 feet for an easement for us to be able to work on that drainage ditch if we need it. I think putting it on the tax rolls makes sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense, I guess, if there's somebody interested in building a house on it, that we keep it off the tax rolls. This puts the entire lot of 310 back on the tax rolls with an easement across it. I think that's good for the city, and a new house is certainly good for the city. So that was why I recommended we set this public hearing, and we can discuss the ins and outs of this at that time at this public hearing.
Motion to approve the public hearing.
Support.
And the public hearing will be on the 21st of October at 6 p.m.
I don't really like the idea of setting up the public hearing, and we haven't even discussed this yet.
Well, all we're setting the hearing. That the discussion can happen at the public hearing. This is just setting the date for the public hearing. At that point, you can decide whether you want to do it or don't do it, but this just sets the hearing for that day. It doesn't hold you to anything. It just sets the hearing date.
I would think that we would discuss it before we set the public hearing date, not set a public hearing and then talk about it.
Well, other than we might have some other people that might want to come and discuss it. You're not going to do anything
Through the plan?
but I think you have to hold a public hearing in order to say yay or nay.
You just want to know, Kathy, you just want to know what the plan is?
I think we should have, because we got this yesterday afternoon. And I think that we should have discussed
Well, that
this.
was my fault because I forgot about it. But several weeks ago, I did send out an email with exactly what's in here. So you have seen it before. Like I say, you have 2 weeks to think about it before the public hearing, and we have a possibility to get a house built on 2 empty lots. I guess it's up to council whether you want to set this hearing or not.
One of the things also is that with the house removed from that 314 West Burlington Avenue, those lots are small, so they don't even meet the minimum size requirement for somebody to build a house on right now.
See, this is the type of thing I think we should have talked about before we set the public hearing. It's not that I'm against the project, I just think that we should, my opinion is, talk about it, then set the public hearing.
It's I think 20 feet too short for our minimum size requirement for a lot. So giving a little bit of our extra lot, which we kind of talked about before, I think was splitting a little bit off for them to use, but retaining our
And as
easement.
Therese brought up, part of the idea of a public hearing is for the public to come in and give you input to make a decision. So that's
Well, Let's do a roll call.
Christie,
No.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
Motion approved. All right. I don't have anything here for old business. I haven't seen any new citizens walk in. We have a work session for the sign, to review the sign code. I know I've been approached by several businesses that are interested in it, so suppose we need to look at it and see what we can do. Well,
Motion to adjourn then?
thank you.
Or-
Well, motion to adjourn with support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is closed. Thank you for attending.